Hey everybody, Dr. Brad Dieter back in the house for episode number 2 of the supplement review. So we got some really great feedback on the first one. People thought it was really informative. Some people thought it should be more entertaining. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to continue to bring a lot of the science and the value. We're going to add a little bit of entertainment factor. We also were told that it sounded like we were in a box, so we went out and bought a microphone. Today we have 3 more supplements. The last time we had 2, today we've got 3. They range from anywhere from the most effective things on the planet to stuff we should probably throw in the trash. So let's start off with probably one of the most effective supplements on the planet. Basically, this is straight creatine monohydrate. This is from Optimum Nutrition. It is considered micro-ionized creatine monohydrate. So first, let's talk a little bit just about creatine in general. It's probably the single most effective ergogenic aid we know of in terms of legal, effective, increasing work capacity type of supplements. So creatine essentially works so you've got really 3 energy systems in your body. You've got the creatine phosphate system, glycolysis, and oxidative phosphorylation, aerobic metabolism. They're called the same thing a lot of times. So what this does is this augments the capacity of that first energy system. So kind of to break it down, the long and the short is that system helps you create ATP, more energy during really short windows of training. So let's say your maximum capacity of working was 30 seconds. This might allow you to work for 35 seconds in that range. So that's kind of the simple breakdown. So creatine, let's talk a little bit about dosaging and supplementation. So for kind of the average person, average male, average female, probably for the average male, about 5 grams a day is what you need to take of this stuff. About 3 to 5 grams a day for the average female is probably a good dosage. If you're a fairly larger individual, you can take more than 5, but that seems to be right about the most common dose. Now there's loading protocols that are suggested a lot of times where people say, to saturate your muscle creatine stores, take 10 to 20 grams for the first few days to really load it up, and then take 5 for the rest. You can do that. It's been shown to work in several papers. Or you can just take it 5 grams a day for a couple weeks and eventually you get there. So one thing to note is creatine doesn't really work acutely. It's got to bioaccumulate. So you need to take this stuff on a daily basis. It doesn't need to be taken before a workout. There's some data to show it's probably a little bit more effective at being taken up into the muscle tissue post-workout with a meal. So if you're going to take it that way. The micro-ionized, this version just essentially means it dissolves a little bit better in water. If you find the other forms of creatine, that like creatine nitrate, that is a little bit more soluble than this, so do with it what you will. So basically, creatine, probably one of the most effective supplements on the market. This brand is pretty well known. It's super cheap. I think you get right about 60 servings for like $15, so it's pretty darn cheap. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one we have is this thing called No.3 Drive. I don't know why I'm showing the microphone. Let's show you guys this. So basically this has some vitamin C, some sugar alcohols. It's got this stuff called Agma Pure, Agma Phos and Agma Core, which is just agmatine, different conjugates of agmatine. It's got powdered glycerol, and then it's also got citrulline and sodium nitrate. So before we even get into breaking this down, I'm actually going to try it on camera. So it says to mix with 8 ounces of water. So I've got my handy cute little bottle here. It's got 8 ounces of water. Take the cap off, rip this stuff open. I'm about to go on a bike ride here, so I'm just going to take this and see what happens. I might end up dying, so if you guys see somebody in Spokane is missing, that's probably what happened. I took this stuff, never taken it before, and I'm going to go on a bike ride in 98-degree weather, so we'll see what happens. Shake it up. Give you guys the little color. Yep, this is somebody sent me this bottle, Teacrine. It's actually Teacrine. We'll cover this in the next episode. It's a cute little bottle, though. Taste, pretty good, pretty mild, not super fruity, a little bit chalky, but that's why I usually dilute mine. People say 8 ounces, yeah, it's a little chalky, a little sweet. Put that in, probably put that in 20 ounces of water in one of the big blender bottles, or this actually fills up to 20, so that's what I'd probably do. So now that I've ripped this to shreds, let's talk about the actual ingredients in it. So agmatine basically it's a compound that they've talked about having some beneficial properties. I don't really think it does a whole lot for myself. It's a metabolite of L-arginine. So basically agmatine, L-arginine, nitric oxide, basically we talked about that last episode where it can kind of increase the blood flow and increase oxygenation, and in theory, that's how it does. In practicality, it doesn't really work. Now, the estimated agmatine has done some other things, right? It's actually been shown for cognition pieces, but the amount you need in humans is about 2 to 6 milligrams per kilogram. Now, that's a lot of agmatine. This has 1.5 grams. So milligrams per kilogram, that'd be probably about the right dose. But the studies don't show a whole lot of effect. Now, the other really interesting thing, this is going to go way off on a tangent, but agmatine has actually been shown to basically help people get off opioid addiction a little bit because it reduces the threshold of opioid needed to have effective painkiller. So there may be some medical application for this, but the agmatine probably isn't doing a whole lot in this stuff, even though that's kind of the Agma Pro matrix, the thing that's popular or marketed the heaviest in this. And then we've got citrulline. So let's talk about citrulline a little bit. Citrulline is probably one of the more interesting ingredients that's not really newer, but it's kind of hitting more mainstream, and actually has some evidence to show that it may have some effect, right? So citrulline malate is a lot of times what it's called. It's essentially the amino acid. It's a supplemental form of the amino acid L-citrulline. L-citrulline's kind of claim to fame is that it has the ability to increase performance during both anaerobic. So we talked about this, kind of improves anaerobic and also aerobic training. And so most of its benefits are to reduce fatigue. Now, it really has a lot of different health claims, but I kind of want to talk, there's one big study that's been done, and in my opinion, it's fairly large for supplemental research as far as it goes. So it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. It had 41 participants, and they took 8 milligrams of citrulline or placebo and performed 8 sets of bench press to fatigue. So then what they really showed was that there was a drastic improvement of reps that they were able to achieve. Basically a 52% improvement on the reps over placebo, and that there was a 40% decrease in soreness. So that's one of the interesting supplements, and I think, as we get more, that was 8 grams, not 8 milligrams. So, one of the other things to note about L-citrulline is this right here. I'm going to overlay this. It's got a really complex biochemical pathway, but it interacts with L-arginine, and so a lot of the supplements in here kind of interact biochemically and are part of that same system. So this figure right here, super complicated, but kind of lays out all of those pieces, right? So pause it, take a look at this. You can see how all the ingredients in here kind of go together. Now there's also sodium nitrate in here. In sodium nitrate, I'm actually just going to take a quick second and give a shout out to examine.com. They have a really good supplement website. And I'm going to kind of just take a paragraph from their website. So in regards to performance, it appears that nitrate, the ingredient sodium nitrate, actually appears to enhance exercise performance, but it's secondary to reducing the oxygen cost of exercise. So basically you get more bang for your buck. There's almost no effect on acute power, but it seems to reduce the rate of fatigue. So it kind of works similarly to the creatine and the citrulline in there. So this is kind of one of those supplements that may have some benefit. The dosages for the citrulline appear to be a little low. The dosages for nitrate also appear to be a little low. So if you look at the dosages in here, 240 milligrams. So the fairly well-studied effective doses for nitrate for a 150-pound person is like 450 to 900 milligrams, right in that range. For a 200-pound person is like 600 to 1200-ish. So this is probably pretty underdosed. You'd have to take 2 packets, which with how sweet this was. Getting a little thirsty here. Probably need a couple packets. So, all right, so that's this one. Tastes pretty good. It's got a pretty color. It's got some citrulline in it, which has some benefit. You could probably get a different supplement with citrulline in it. The sodium nitrate is interesting, but probably underdosed a little bit. If I were to remake this product, I'd probably put a little more citrulline and a little more sodium nitrate and focus on those two pieces. Okay, so now the next one we've got here is also pretty interesting. I'm going to hold this up. It's called Ripped Freak. So this is another one of those ones that's like marketed super well. And I kind of want to talk about this one pretty in depth. So I'm just going to take a second here to find my notes on this one because it's got a lot of stuff in it. And I just want to make sure that we cover it as well as we can. Okay, so the Ripped Freak, which I don't know if it's actually going to get you ripped. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you've got caffeine in here, caffeine anhydrous, right? We talked about that last time. If you haven't checked it out, go subscribe. Button's down there, I think, or down there. One of those two. Go to the episode 1. We talk a little bit more about caffeine. But this one, here's the problem with these supplements, right? Look at this, right? It says this proprietary Ripped Freak complex, 400 milligrams, and you've got caffeine, green tea, olive leaf extract, and coffee bean extract, but we don't know how much of each is in there. So caffeine, starting at about 100 milligrams, appears to have some effect on acute performance. So go to episode 1. Basically, caffeine can kind of help increase power output, but not top-end power output. So it's more in the 3 to 5 range. Most studies have showed kind of sustained power. Maybe due to reduced fatigue, reduced pain perception. It's kind of the way we think about it. Caffeine's not really, it can mobilize fat, but a lot of it's recycled, so it's not the best fat burner on the market. We have a rant video on what's the most effective fat loss supplement that we will link to probably in the show notes. But so let's go to the next one. Green tea leaf extract. So green tea leaf is actually pretty interesting, right? And the main compound in things like green tea extract that actually exert most of the biochemical effects that are positive, it's called epigallocatechin gallate, or ECGC, and that's kind of the main effect. So when we talk about fat oxidation, which is kind of what this talks about, that's a whole different story whether fat oxidation means fat loss, but for the argument, let's just talk about fat oxidation. So a low dose of this green tea leaf extract, or the EGCG, in one study was shown to have the same fat oxidation after a meal as about the same dose of 200 milligrams of caffeine. Now, studies that have looked into whether this increased fat oxidation actually lead, to getting jacked or fat loss or anything like that are pretty mixed, right? Almost like any other fat loss supplement on the market. Some show taking up to about 700 milligrams a day, you can lose about 2 more pounds-ish over 12 weeks. But that's not a lot. We don't really know how much of that is due to air or due to healthy lifestyle. So it's not a robust fat burner. But there's other interesting health aspects of green tea extract that you can get. But rather than spending money on something like this, if you're looking for the green tea benefits, go get an 80-cent bag of green tea from the store. Okay, so the next one on the list in here is olive leaf extract. It's got a cool name, Olea europea. It's got some interesting health properties. Like there's been, I think, 1 or 2 studies that have shown it's improved some blood lipids, blood chemistry, and increased insulin sensitivity a little bit, but it's not a fat burner. So that, I don't know why that's in there. The next one is this olive leaf, we've got this CH19 sweet red pepper extract. So basically it's capsicum, and the idea of if you eat it, it's like a fat burner because it's hot. So it may reduce some blood sugar by causing an insulin release, but that happens at super high doses. We're talking like 5 grams, and in here there's 200 milligrams, so it's probably doing that, right? Probably not doing anything. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, and this is where I kind of get a little bit upset. So there's raspberry ketones in here. Now, Dr. Oz has sold raspberry ketones, and there is literally no data to support its use in humans. Right now, there's one study, it's really, really interesting, that has shown that raspberry ketones induce uterine contraction in rats. So if you're a rat and you want your uterus to contract, take some of this. Otherwise, probably don't need raspberry ketones. So the research behind it as a fat loss supplement is completely scarce. There's some cell culture studies, but nothing in humans. So there was one overfeeding study in rats where they used this, showed some slowdown in weight gain, but it also showed in another study their uterus contracted, so it's probably not really doing anything for you. So Dr. Oz, I'm glad you were put on blast by the grand jury for promoting stuff like raspberry ketones, but that's it. So that's basically this stuff, probably not worth the money. This stuff, it's got L-citrulline in it, which makes it interesting. It's got sodium nitrate in it, which, also beetroot powder. I think the nitrate story is interesting. I think we need a little bit more data to flush that out. Sorry, this is crooked. Taste-wise, it's okay. Probably a little too sweet for me. I'd dilute it in some water, maybe put it on some ice and drink it while I'm on my bike ride. Maybe that's what I'll do. See what happens. Creatine, can't go wrong with creatine. Optimum Nutrition makes a pretty decent one. Pretty cheap. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the show and hope you enjoyed the improved audio quality. Thank you to one of our listeners, and we will catch you guys later. Just in case you haven't done it yet, go ahead and subscribe. The button's either on this side or this side. Check us out at sciencedrivennutrition.com. Check us out on Facebook. Follow us on Snapchat. We actually send some interesting things on Snapchat, and we will talk to you guys later. Dr. Brad out.